Hello options traders, and in this video I want to address a number of questions I've received from various traders in this group about a highly sensationalized promotional piece going around called the Magic Income Experiment, and people are just asking, is it a worthwhile service? If you don't have time to watch this video, let me give you the short answer: no. Stay far away from it. But if you'd like to find out more about what this Magic Income Experiment is, how it works, and why it's so dangerous, this is what I want to explain in here. First of all, it's this Magic Income Experiment. It says, prepare to be amazed as ex-hedge fund manager James Altucher makes $647 appear out of thin air. And the beginning of the video shows him walking up to what are supposedly three random people. I'm sure they're all plants. But here he's walking up to a girl in a coffee shop and says, I'm going to predict within a couple of dollars how much you're going to make for me in the next 2 minutes. And of course, she's highly astounded at this, looks all surprised, and he says he'll split the profits with her, whatever money she makes. So she goes into his account, and within 2 minutes, lo and behold, $647 appears. And here she is, all smiling. Here's her half. There's the amount that he predicted within a few dollars. So it looks like he's an absolute genius. And then he asks her, what are you going to do with this money? And she says, oh, probably pay rent. Well, how much is your rent? $900. Oh, well, what if you did this for another 2 minutes? Boy, that'd be really easy. That'd be so much fun to be able to make money that fast. Well, I can show you how to do this. And the video just goes on and on, showing just how easy it is to make money instantly from the market. It's all about understanding this magic strategy. And it's described as being a little unknown strategy and even a loophole strategy. Interesting. Like the market just somehow overlooked this little technology glitch where you can go in and push a button and extract free money. And, of course, to find out this little secret, it's only going to cost you $2,000 per year. Well, the first question that came up in my mind is, why me? Think about it. You've got about 250 trading days during the year, 6.5 hours per day, 60 minutes per hour, and that comes out to be 48,750 2-minute periods times 647, or about $32 million. Why are you giving it to me for $2,000? So the first thing to realize is this is an overly sensationalized, hyped up piece. It is not a magic income experiment, and it's certainly not a loophole. The idea here is simply selling what are called naked puts or uncovered puts. And by being naked or uncovered, it means that there is no offsetting hedge in the account. That's just a financial term. We call that a naked position. Selling naked puts, and I'll explain that a little bit more in just a moment, it can be a great strategy for certain investors or possibly hedge funds, institutional investors, things like that. But it is absolutely not a great strategy for people with no money trying to extract free money from the market. And that's really what the video tries to imply. And in fact, you can even see from the screenshot, he says it's so easy that anybody can do it, even if you're on a fixed income and not working. And that's absolutely false. Completely misleading. You don't want to go in there. I will show you in a little bit why you're going to get hit with very large margin requirements, and you're also going to have extremely large downside risk. So let's take a look at what it means to sell a naked put. First of all, understand that there are really 4 possible basic trades with options. You've got calls, you've got puts, you've got buy, you've got sell. So there's only 4 things you can do at a basic level. You can buy a call, you can buy a put, you can sell a call, and you can sell a put. If you buy a call, you have the right, not the obligation, to buy 100 shares of stock. If you buy a put option, you have a right to sell 100 shares of stock. If you sell a call, you have the obligation to sell 100 shares of stock. But if you sell a put, which is what this strategy is, you have the potential obligation to buy 100 shares of stock. And that's the part that is conveniently left out of the video. When you sell these puts, you are putting yourself on the hook to potentially buy 100 shares of these underlying stocks. Hardly a good strategy for somebody who has no job or income. If you're new to options, this might be a little confusing to you, so let me show you an easy way to figure this out. If you just understand that the buyer of the call has the right to buy and the buyer of the put has the right to sell, start there. Notice that the buyers of options have rights. The sellers on the opposite side of the trade will be exposed to the opposite transactions. So notice that the call seller will have the obligation to sell shares. Opposite of right is obligation. Opposite of buy is sell. That's the only way the trade can work. Both traders must be on opposite sides. The put seller has the obligation to buy shares. Notice that the put buyer has the right to sell. Opposite of right is obligation, and opposite of sell is buy. The put seller has the obligation to buy shares of stock. And again, that's one of the things that you are subjecting yourself to when you use this magic strategy. So the strategy of selling put options on one hand is very easy. Just click on the bid of the put that you want to sell, and by selling those puts, you receive cash up front into your account. That part is true. The amount received is the absolute most you can make. But remember, in exchange for that, you have the potential obligation to buy 100 shares of stock. So in a sense, you're acting like an insurance company. You're taking in a fixed premium up front in exchange for saying, I am standing by ready, willing, and able to buy 100 shares of stock from that put buyer should that person exercise that option and require me to buy those shares. Now, some put sellers see this as a very good strategy as a way to get paid to acquire shares of stock they were going to buy anyway, or that they would be totally willing to buy. But again, that's conveniently left out in the video. It never tells you that you have the obligation to potentially buy shares of stock. So let me show you just how easy this magic experiment is. Take a look at the Apple quote. You can see Apple trading for $155 right here. And over here, the 155 puts with 29 days till expiration. Look at the bid, $4.35. Well, I'm going to predict that you're going to make $435 from that trade. Click that bid. Yes, you're going to make $435. It's not a big secret to make that prediction. That's all he's doing is looking at the bid and saying, here's what you're expected to make. What he leaves out is that you now have the obligation to buy 100 shares of Apple at $155, which is $15,500. That's a hefty obligation in exchange for $435. Another thing that's left out in the video is the margin requirement. Whenever you sell naked or uncovered options, you have to post some cash. It's like putting some cash aside just in case you're required to actually buy those shares. And it's called a margin requirement. As a rough rule of thumb, you're going to post about 25% of the exercise value. So if you sell one 155 put that I just showed you, that's about $15,500 worth of an exercise times 25%, or about $3,875. So before you collect that 400 or so bucks, you're going to have to post $3,875. That's also conveniently left out of the video. Another thing to understand and to be concerned about with this strategy is the profit and loss diagram. And you can see the dangers right here. For those who are not familiar with profit and loss diagrams, there is another video here in this Options A to Z Facebook page that you can find that'll give you all the details on it. But essentially what you're looking at is various stock prices on the horizontal axis here and various profit or losses on the vertical axis that will occur at expiration. So if you sold this Apple 155 put and the stock rises, the most you can make is the amount you received. It's a fixed amount no matter how high that stock price rises. But notice that if the stock price falls, you can potentially head into unlimited losses, at least all the way down to a stock price of zero. And that's because you have the potential obligation to buy those shares. You're going to receive the $400 or so, but in exchange, you might have to fork over $15,500 to acquire those shares. And we have no idea what the value of those shares will be should you be required to buy them. But it's this unlimited downside risk here that poses the biggest threat. That is also conveniently left out of the video. So now here's another one in his income experiment number 3, where he's talking to a man who was, at his own admission, formerly homeless, to try and show him what an invaluable strategy this is for a mere $2,000 a year. And of course, this guy is completely shocked that he can go and sell a Nike put and generate apparently free money instantly. So let's take a look at this little short clip.
Okay, now you've seen Robin and Natalie generate a total of $969.03 in my account. Thank you guys. But now let's see if Wally will make it a perfect 3 for 3 today. He's entering a couple of letters, clicking a few buttons, and remember, my cash balance was showing $969.03 just a minute ago.
Let's pause the video here and take a look at which put expiration he's suggesting this person sell. It has 521 days to expiration. That's what's required to generate the $680. There is no trader in the world who would ever suggest selling a put option with 521 days till expiration. You would be far better off and far more profitable by doing this over and over and over because of the square root pricing relationship, which is another video here inside the Options A to Z Facebook club. You would be far better off selling weekly or monthly options over and over and over rather than just trying to sell one with 521 days to expiration. So why did they choose this? Because that's what required to get this fairly eye-popping $680 up front instantly. Wouldn't have been as sensational of a video if they'd have only generated $50. But of course, putting this guy on the hook to buy 100 shares of Nike for the next 521 days, that seems to be left out of the video as well. Well, just to be fair, let's take a look and see how his third victim did here with his Nike puts. Here's Nike at 60. That's the strike that he sold. He sold these puts at a high, the absolute worst place to be selling naked puts. Because remember, he has essentially sold an insurance policy, and he's on the hook for all of these losses. So that little $680 gain that he made so instantly is long gone, and he still has another year and a half to go to potentially rack up more losses. I'm not sure why, but they seem to have left this part out of the video as well. One of the best lessons you can get from all of this, especially if you're new to options or investing, is that there is no free money in the market. And that's because all traders are trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to make money. And that means if buyers win, sellers must lose. And if sellers win, buyers must lose. There could never be a condition or a strategy where the sellers always win or where the buyers always win. Because if it did happen, that very success would be its undoing. All of those sellers would switch to buyers, or all of the buyers would switch to sellers. So in the long run, the strategies kind of have to balance out. That's a separate topic we'll get into when we talk about fair value. But just realize that for right now, there is no strategy that exists that is going to give you long-term, consistent wins. However, in this magic income experiment, they cite some obscure research report. And look at this quote. These market researchers were able to log financial wins with these kinds of secret income trades an incredible 96.17% of the time. It doesn't happen. Remember, if you have a strategy where you've got buyers and sellers, if you have more buyers piling up, that's going to tip the scales in this direction. You've got far more buyers, and that only means that the price has to rise. And when prices are higher, it attracts more sellers. And that's going to swing the seesaw back in this direction as everybody shifts over to the sell side. And that means that with more sellers than buyers, price has to come down. Well, wait a minute. When prices are lower, that's going to attract buyers. And now people start shifting over to the buy side, and so on and so on. It goes back and forth until both the buyer and seller have about an equal percentage chance, or at least in terms of fair value, of winning. There is no 96% guaranteed success with this strategy. There are, however, better and safer ways to sell options. They're not secrets, they're not loopholes. They're simply using hedged positions by using other options. For example, we could use a strategy called a vertical spread and generate almost the same amount of income, but radically reduce the amount of risk that he's exposing these people to. Options are the very best tools for managing the risk in today's market. So remember, anytime you're investing, you can't avoid the risk, but you can avoid the hype. If you'd like to learn more about the art and science of options trading, please check out the Alpha Trader course at optionsatoz.com.